So I have a question. Hi, my name is Erica. I don't know why it didn't show up on the screen.
Hi, Erica.
So I was a center director for a medical adult daycare in Maryland for my entire 15-year career. And I came out just because it was very stressful, and it was a nonprofit, but it was very family oriented. So there was a lot of policies and things that I didn't necessarily agree with. So anywho, I branched out. I do consulting for medical adult daycares in Maryland. Sorry, Crystal, I can't help you. I don't know the regulations for Virginia, but I know Maryland's like the back of my head. My question to you though is, what is the benefits of opening up a medical adult daycare like privately versus a franchise? And if it's a franchise, I'm familiar with a lot of franchise, well, in particular, ActivAge. We have those in Maryland.
ActivAge is actually corporately owned.
Right.
So ActivAge will usually come in and they'll buy up like a mom and pop and then integrate it into its system there.
That's where I actually started my career. It was called Almost Family, and then Almost Family sold it to ActivAge.
Gotcha.
And like you said, they just started buying a bunch of daycares in Maryland. So my question to you is, what's the benefit of a franchise? Is there certain policies and procedures that we have to follow under your franchise, or are we able to make our own?
Yeah. I mean, I will say this: like a franchise model is very like specific for a reason, because it's like the reason why there's certain rules and there's certain there's certain way things have to be done, or why people have to follow a certain way, a certain model, is because that model works, And so if we stray too far from the model, from its core foundation, then what can happen is, people can try things that like don't work. And then, if people try things that don't work, then it can cause the system to fall apart, because it's not a strong, healthy, viable business model, because it doesn't have those core tenets that it was founded on. So the franchise model can be great, and it can also be it can have restrictions. So it can be great from a foundational standpoint, because there's a guide to walk you through, and it's going to depend on the franchise, right? Like in the adult day space, there's basically 4 franchise models that exist today. There's ours, there's Town Square, there is Sarah Care, and then there's a company called Elderwell. And those 4 companies are all very, very different. Like, so if you looked at all 4 of them, like you could probably tell, like, okay, one of them is like super lenient on what you can and can't do. Others are super strict. Some are less expensive, some are way more expensive. So it's like, it really kind of comes down to, what is your goal? What are you trying to achieve? And then is the franchise model in alignment with your goal? Because if, so like go ahead, like what would be, give me an idea of like what in your world, like what is your goal for this?
So I'm a very free-spirited person. Regulations are one thing, and especially in Maryland, I'm definitely a person that I have to follow the regulations. There are a lot of up and coming centers in Maryland that are not necessarily what I would ever just say, for instance, location. There's there's a lot of centers that are popping up like right on top of each other. And what I did was I took a part-time job at a different center, and now I just do the admissions. So I'm kind of in a win-win situation, if that makes any sense. But there's a Town Square that just showed up in Maryland right before the pandemic, and then
Perry Hall. Yeah, that was their corporate headquarters. Yeah.
So now they're doing very well, because of their different theme. Go ahead.
No, I was asking. So my question to you is like, because of your experience, right? Like, and I know you mentioned you wanted to open up a medical center, because both Town Square, myself, I would say even Sarah Care and Elderwell are definitely all on the social model side, which is very different when it comes to the payer source,
But when I talk to Town Square, they take all of the pay sources that I would have in my old center and what I still do in the center that I'm doing admissions for now. So I don't
And
think
so
that there's.
my question to you would be like the payer source that you guys accept, right? What percentage of like what's the percentage makeup of the different payers? Like if you like how many participants do you have in your current center?
So for the center for both centers that I do for two, because the owner has two centers, but they're named something different. And the primary pay source is Medicaid.
Right. Gotcha. I bet you if you went and talked to the Town Square one, that the primary like payer source would be private pay.
Yeah,
So
private pay.
They might
private
accept
pay
it.
and VA as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, private, because in VA pays really, what is do you know what they pay in Maryland on the
For
Medicaid
VA,
side?
oh yeah, they just got a 12% increase. So it's 101.25 and it's supposed to go to 104 something per day for Medicaid in the next like 6 weeks.
Right. So this is the biggest question here for you would be, is do you want to own a primarily Medicaid payer source facility, or do you want to focus on the private pay individuals? So I think that would be a big question to just to identify like what model to go with, you know?
Okay, that makes sense. And then do you guys create the policy and procedures if you did a franchise, or so?
Yeah, so we already have it's like ours, like a business in a box. So when it comes to policies and procedure, when it comes to branding, marketing, all the plans for that, when it comes to the CRM system, we handle all that stuff. When it comes to the activity engagement program, we have a custom proprietary like software we made that runs our activity programming for us. It doesn't replace the activity director, but it just is an enhancement to their role. And then that runs on like a massive 16-foot wide by 9-foot tall TV that we have in the location. So it's, but like those are ways that we've like figured out how to support, you know, people that are wanting to do this, so that we can take some of the administrative workload off of them and allow them to really just focus on just the the fun part of it, the activity side of it, the reason why they are even interested in this space, you know.
I have one last question, because I don't want to hold up everybody else. Do you guys if I would want to read over your policies and stuff before I say, oh yeah, I would love to do this, is that something that you guys allow? Just because, you know, before you commit to that amount of money, you would want to know what the policies and procedures and what would be expected from a franchisee.
Yeah, so there's a process for it. So like, and this is not just us, this is just every franchise, is what'll happen is the typical process will be you'll fill out a franchise application, and then you'll actually speak to a lending partner typically, if there's going to be financing involved, and then they'll go through a pre-qualification process with the candidate. And then once those two steps happen, then typically we'll sit down and we'll review what is known as the franchise disclosure document, and that'll like give you the meats and potatoes of the business. You know, what things cost, you know, what the range on the low end to the high end should be. You know, it'll show you and kind of give you a peek at, you know, revenue and numbers and things like that. And then, you know, that would be the time that like any questions about whether or not, you know, it made sense to go forward would come up, you know. But as far as like the actual it's there's so much depth to it that you would be able to come see too. That's this Discovery Day is a big part of it. So Discovery Day is the day that you show up and you actually would come and participate and actually be in the center and experience the center. And that would be kind of like the last step before you make that decision. Does it make sense for me to go with a franchise, or does it make sense for me to go on my own?
Okay, thank you. I'll email you probably tomorrow.
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate it. I happy to help. And like I said, I really, my ultimate goal is for people to choose what they feel is best for them, you know?
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
And the thing is, the reason why sometimes I put that disclaimer about the Medicaid thing is just because our target audience is middle America, and they typically don't qualify for Medicaid, but I know that can vary sometimes depending on the state and depending on some of the loopholes and stuff like that. But, you know, really our core demographic is, you know, middle America that like, they're like, you know, they can't quite afford like 24/7 home care. They're like, you know, we're not ready for assisted living yet. because
Mm-hmm.
you know, if we start now, we're not gonna have any money left, you know. So they're kind of in this like weird spot where like we just need an interim solution to help us over the next 2 to 3 years, you know.
Yeah, I get it. I'm very familiar with the spot, both work-wise, because I also have my own business. I do assistant living placements. So
Okay,
and
yeah.
also my mother. So I get what you're saying. That middle America target, yeah.
Yeah, because I assume on the placement side, do you work with more Medicaid facilities or do you work with more private pay?
Private pay for them.
Okay. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, and that's the thing is like sometimes people go after Medicaid because it sounds like easy money, because it's just like, you know, like it's just like, hey, the state's paying for it, you know. And so sometimes that's why you see them built on top of each other.
I
you
know, but it's hard work. It's hard work.
No, I totally get it. No, for sure. And so like, I just know on the private pay side, it's like, what's nice about that is you're targeting a different audience, you know, and there's not as much competition in that space, you know.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Any other questions?
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to learn how to open your own adult daycare center, go to adcpro.com. If you'd like the latest business tips, click here, and make sure you subscribe to our channel. Click here. We'll see you guys next time.